Singapore Airlines has been one of a few airlines to pull off ultra long haul service. They are a leader in the category, keeping profits high while staying true to their luxury branding. Other airlines will cram more seats into their cabins to fit more people, but Singapore believes in quality first. However, is this really the right mindset to being successful as an airline? First, let's get into what ultra long haul is. You see, Singapore's location is geographically unique in the aviation industry. While it is connected to many South Asian countries like Indonesia and the Philippines, it is very far from Europe and America. This means the airline has to operate some of the longest routes on the planet. Flights to West Coast cities like LA and San Francisco can take up to 17 hours. The airline's initial ultra long haul service began back in 2004 to LAX in Newark. These flights were operated on the A340-500, which the airline configured to have mostly premium cabins, with some later becoming full business class. And in the early 2000s, the A340 was amazing. Four engines gave it incredible range, and its large size was perfectly suitable for a luxury product. However, in late 2013, the airline retired their A340s as they became old and inefficient. Singapore had to temporarily suspend the routes until they found an aircraft that was new and efficient. In fact, many airlines wanted a new twin engine from Airbus to compete with the Boeing 787. So they went to Airbus and said, "Hey Airbus, we need a modern twin engine jet that's going to go far and save us money." And Airbus was like, "Oui, oui, I make big plane." And not too long after, in 2016, they entered the A350 into service. You see, not only did the A350 have incredible range, it was also ridiculously efficient, exactly what these airlines needed to keep these routes profitable. It was big, quiet, and modern. The airline initially launched a nonstop to San Francisco, as well as a few other non-US cities. However, despite its range, the aircraft wasn't able to reach New York due to load restrictions. So Singapore went to Airbus and said, "Hey Airbus, the A350 is great, but we aren't able to fly to New York." So Airbus said, "Oui, oui, I make special plane just for you, my friend." And in 2018, they gave Singapore the A350-900 ULR, or ultra long range. Basically, Airbus added a new fuel tank, made the wing design more efficient, and disabled the entire front cargo compartment. And with this, Singapore got their hands on the longest range airliner in the industry. Now, the ULR has a very special cabin configuration. The aircraft only seats 161 people, and for reference, Singapore's standard long-haul A350 seats 253, in a configuration that's already pretty premium heavy. This reduced capacity is essential for the aircraft's range, as the weight of each passenger and their cargo, in addition to fuel, will cause the aircraft to just be too heavy. Similar to their previous A340-500s, the cabin consists of only premium classes, with 67 business class seats and 94 premium economy seats. With the ULR, the airline relaunched direct flights to LAX in Newark, and just a few years later, JFK followed, becoming the longest commercial flight in the world. But low capacity and more fuel means there's less room to stay profitable on these flights. Even with a standard configuration, having to pay for 17 hours worth of fuel with no guarantee on every ticket being sold is quite risky. While premium economy is one of the most profitable classes for airlines today, Singapore relies heavily on business class for profits. In fact, their premium economy seats on the standard long-haul A350-900s are more expensive than those on the ULR. Their business class seats, however, are quite pricey, with their New York flights reaching up to $7,000 round trip. However, with reliance on business travelers and a loss of demand for standard economy, how do they fill these aircraft every day? Every empty seat is a loss for airlines. For these flights to be successful, Singapore needs to consistently get people to pay high prices. Well, the airline already gets to target high-income passengers who want to save time with the non-stop routes. They strategically time their flight so that the aircraft leaves at night and arrives early in the morning. For example, their flight from JFK to Singapore departs at 10 p.m. and arrives at 6 a.m. in Singapore. Additionally, the airline also offers non-stops to LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and New York, with flights to SFO, JFK, and Newark on the ULR itself. This allows the airline to get a ton of business travelers from these cities with heavy business demand. But are these seats actually worth the hefty price tag? You see, Singapore Airlines has one of the best luxury products in the industry. Their team excels in ergonomics, which means their seats are specifically designed for comfort, privacy, and efficiency. A lot of this is achieved through space. Their business class seats are considered to be some of the widest in the world. However, The luxury goes beyond the seat. Their culinary international panel handles the menu, and their book the cook system for higher class passengers allows catering to be flexible and diverse. Also, their onboard entertainment system, Chris World, has frequently won Skytrax's Best IFE award. This exceptional service allows their ultra long haul flights to be memorable. And at the end of the day, Singapore wants to retain passengers who have already flown the airline before. This actually ties into Singapore's overall strategy of playing the long game. You see, unlike other airlines that try to chase quarterly earnings and maximize short term profits, Singapore likes to focus on establishing a strong, long term relationship with their customers so that they're more likely to fly with them again. This actually makes a lot of sense because with the loss of economy on these ultra long haul flights, Singapore loses a majority of passenger demand, as over 90% of international travelers do fly economy. So the airline tries to hold on to every person that comes on board in hopes that their next flight to the Asian region will be on Singapore once again. That's right, the airline can't just work off passengers flying to and from the small country. Instead, the airline incorporates many different strategies to establish a successful connection network. First of all, they joined Star Alliance back in the year 2000. Star Alliance is the largest airline alliance in the world and allows Singapore to have smooth connections at airports all around the globe. It also provides the airline with a good feed of passengers into Changi Airport, where Singapore will then distribute them all around the globe. But every airline alliance has its limits, right? And like we touched on earlier, Singapore is geographically connected to much of South Asia. And while Star Alliance is globally dominant, regionally, the airline is all by itself to compete with other Asian carriers. And these short flights are where low-cost travel thrives. While people may not want to be stuck in a cramped cabin for over 10 hours, they can handle being a bit uncomfortable for an hour. Singapore can't directly compete with these airlines as they refuse to associate low-quality products with their brand. Even their economy class and their 737s feature comfortable seats with IFE and even onboard catering. But in fact, most passengers on the ULR are actually connecting. So how does the airline even manage this? Well, back in 2012, Singapore identified the problem and went right back to the drawing board. Okay guys, we need to find a way to compete with budget airlines. Psst, hey, can you move? I can't see the board. What? I said, Scoot! Perfect. So the airline created Scoot, a low-cost subsidiary that would compete price-wise with other Asian carriers. So while Singapore handles most of their own regional operations, they still use Scoot as a low-cost alternative. And Scoot dominates the market and effectively feeds connecting passengers to Singapore. So Scoot allows Singapore to gain more control of the low-cost market, further strengthening their access to Asian travelers. You see, as we mentioned earlier, the airline already has the product and service that these people want. And with their network giving them access to all these passengers, Singapore is able to consistently fill their aircraft and keep their ultra-long-haul routes profitable. And today, Singapore remains the only major airline to operate the ULR, and is the only major commercial airline that has these fully premium configured planes. So, what do you think about the ULR? Do you think that Singapore should invest more in economy class, or should they keep this current premium configuration? And also, do you think that it would be a good fit for the A350-1000 ULR to join their fleet? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here for the next video.